So now Fox News is apparently fake news to the former Fox host, Pete Hegseth, who is now the Secretary of Defense. Make that make sense. So Pete Hegseth posted the following: fake news of the day, not surprising, from Democrats and Jen Griffin from Fox News. Same thing. So I guess they're calling Fox's main international and defense correspondent, Jen Griffin, the same thing as a Democrat. That's what they're saying. Any all house repairs were going to happen no matter who was moving in, and all were initiated by the Department of Defense. But Dems, Jen, don't care about facts. They are just Trump haters. So now Jennifer Griffin of Fox News, is a Democrat Trump hater, says the former Fox News host turned Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. So what was Pete Hegseth upset about? Well, Jennifer Griffin has literally just been posting documents. She's posting facts. And of course, that pisses off Pete Hegseth with his fragile little ego. Jennifer Griffin wrote, Dems on the House Appropriations Committee ask why Secretary Hegseth needs $137,297 for home repairs, paint for his government residence in light of the Doge efforts to save taxpayer money. Letter below. Let me take a look at the letter below, but let me just go back to what Hegseth said right here. Hegseth goes, any all house repairs were going to happen no matter who was moving in. But do you see the admission there? Yes, Pete Hegseth, maybe that's the case. But what you're admitting is that the government appropriated money to go to certain things that would not allowed to be stopped by Doge. You see, the issue is that we're legislatively prescribed things that were already in action, be it to the Department of Education, be it to the Department of Labor, to USAID, to the Treasury Department, to the IRS, to the various government agencies. Doge is going in and saying these payments cannot happen. We are stopping it. What authority does Doge have to stop those payments? Apparently, Pete Hegseth, what you are saying is where things are already appropriated, they can't stop it. But that's exactly what Doge is doing. Let's just take a look at this letter. And I just find it amusing what they're spending all their money on, right? Like those trips to Guantanamo. And by the way, Jen Griffin pointed this out as well. Now that the Trump administration's opened up their concentration camp in Guantanamo to send migrants, which by the way, in my opinion, is illegal. Those migrants have a habeas corpus right that they're going to now have very costly and expensive court proceedings that are going to take place, moving them to Guantanamo Bay. But they're being moved on like half-empty C-17s that are costing like hundreds of thousands of dollars, where these trips could literally just cost like $5,000 to $8,000. So let's be clear. Doge is not about making less government spending or being more fiscally responsible. It's about causing chaos and havoc that Donald Trump and Elon Musk want. But okay, $137,000 goes to additional paint on Secretary Hegseth's government funded home. This is what the Democratic letter that literally Jen Griffin just reported on. It says, Dear Secretary Hegseth, on January 30th, 2025, the Army notified this committee of its intent to exceed the $35,000 threshold for operation, maintenance, and repair of a currently empty family housing unit for a total requirement of $137,297. Of this amount, $49,900 would be required for a, quote, emergency paint job. It was not until February 5th, 2025 that the committee learned that you would be the occupant of this family housing unit. Why would you require government furnished housing? Why do you require housing specifically at here? Please provide a list of all currently available office quarters that require less than $137,000 in upgrades. What is the total monthly monthly rent that you will pay. Please provide a list of past secretaries of defense that required government-furnished housing, including the costs required to improve that housing before occupancy and the annual rent that was paid. The notification states that this General Flag Officer quarters was inadvertently omitted from the list of GFOQs submitted to the fiscal year 2025 President's budget. If this was a requirement a year ago, why is the painting now considered an emergency that requires a waiver of our 14-day waiting period requirement? Why is the $49,900 for emergency painting of this residence necessary, and how does that use of funds comply with the administration's stated goal of government efficiency? We know that many service members and their families currently live in unacceptable housing conditions, including houses with mold, lead paint, and other hazards. What commitment will you make to provide service members with a similarly high quality of housing for themselves and their family? So it certainly doesn't seem like fake news, but even if a Fox News host just literally posts a document, then they get attacked the way Jennifer Griffin is right there. By the way, the Wall Street Journal also made this op-ed earlier in the week, the dumbest trade war in history, about Donald Trump threatening Canada and Mexico. The New York Post, which is also owned by Murdoch, wrote the following op-ed. RFK's hearings remove all doubts that he's not fit to lead a key federal health agency. Jennifer Griffin reposted the following. Breaking, Trump's DOJ just killed its elite anti-corruption unit, our sources say. The Kleptocracy Initiative, famous for seizing Russian oligarch yachts and prosecuting the $4.5 billion 1MDB fraud, was quietly disbanded last night. Jennifer Griffin wrote, "Where's Doge? It costs $28,500 an hour to fly a C-17 compared with $8,500 an hour for a standard immigration and customs enforcement flight. 13 migrants were flown to Guantanamo Bay on second near-empty U.S. military C-17 flight on Thursday." And this is what's pissing off Secretary Hegseth. He's a fragile little man. The worst possible person to be the Secretary of Defense. She's literally just stating facts right here. She reposted the following. New. Trump nominee Kash Patel disclosed he's receiving $1 to $5 million in shares of a Cayman Islands holding company directly tied to a Chinese corporation, the Senate, and a pro-Trump nonprofit accused of slave labor. Patel says that he won't divest. Patel was also receiving $150,000, $250,000 in affiliation with a documentary about Russia, getting paid money from Russia, potentially. Jennifer Griffin posts, migrants at Guantanamo could result in legal challenges. She also reposts the following as well. And again, she's literally just posting articles, and that's what's driving these Trumpers nuts. Water managers vent their frustration over water dump from Tulare County lakes in California. Pivot to Delta issues. Meeting of local farmers gets heated with blame focused on the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and White House. So these are conservative farmers, Republican voters who had their water stolen from them by Donald Trump from reservoirs in Northern California, so Donald Trump could dump them out and claim that he was turning on a faucet to let the water flow into Los Angeles. Those reservoirs are not connected at all to Los Angeles. What Donald Trump did was have the Army Corps of Engineers steal billions of gallons of water from farmers, most of whom are Republican right-wing farmers who own farms. That area in California tends to vote pretty Republican, and took their water and just dumped it out. So now they're not going to have access to the water during the summer. So Trump could say he turned on a faucet, and that helped the LA fires, when the LA fires at that point in time were out, and those reservoirs were not even connected to LA, so they couldn't even get to LA. And the LA reservoirs were full at the highest levels they kind of had ever been before. One of the things Jennifer Griffin posted as well, Can the United States legally send undocumented immigrants to Guantanamo Bay? Two Supreme Court rulings suggest they are about to hit major legal hurdles. Each migrant sent to Gitmo has the right to habeas corpus, and that means a lawyer. And then she just quotes Hegseth. Defense Secretary Hegseth would not rule out sending American troops to Gaza when questioned by reporters prior to meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the Pentagon. Quote, the definition of insanity is attempting to do the same thing over and over again. And as the president and prime minister pointed out last night, the president is willing to think outside the box, look for new, unique, dynamic ways to solve the problems that have felt like they've been intractable. So we look forward to more conversations about that, creative solutions to that. And as the man tasked with leading the Defense Department here, we're prepared to look at all options, which also included troops and foot soldiers, American soldiers. Goes on to talk, she's posting more things like the Central Intelligence Agency offered buyouts to its entire workforce Tuesday that would essentially eliminate the entire CIA. The Wall Street Journal wrote how Trump is changing the entire world order, by the way, making America weaker, helping Russia and helping China by far. And here's Donald Trump lashing out at Murdoch and the Wall Street Journal, saying that they're all wrong. They don't know what they're talking about when they say that tariffs would have been harmful if Trump kept the tariffs on Canada and Mexico. Play it.
The interview they did with Mexico this morning, was that partially related to the market reaction and a criticism from Mr. Murdoch's own newspaper? He called it the dumbest trade war on the editorial page on Saturday.
I'm going to have to talk to him.
If there's a market reaction or concern about...
I've been right over the Wall Street Journal many times, I will tell you that. I don't agree with him on some things. No, it's not only is it not dumb, you're going to see. Every single one of those countries is dying.
What he is doing, he is assessing. She said in an interview, he's making an audit of who doing what, how are they doing it, where are they doing, or it how they are supposed to be doing it. It is according to the law. Can we make some saving? That aligns with a recent comment of Republican government Glenn Youngkin that voters had backed Trump campaign promises and was now working to fulfill them. State Republican lawmakers widely share that sentiment. In the heated Senate debate after Trump temporary spending freeze, Republican Mark Obenson railed against Trump critics. Cry me a river if you want, but I am not persuaded that the world is coming to end or Earth is going to stop